Yeah, there's always a lot of talk recently. Like, it feels like every week people were just like hyping up one of the AD carries, just like, oh my god, this guy's insane. It's like, well, doesn't really matter. They're not really doing much. And then the next time they play, it's just like, oh, you know, they're going okay. Game's not really going insane for them. So I feel like there's pretty weird judgments overall around AD carries right now when there really shouldn't be.
Well, interesting. Then I take it back, Sneaky. You didn't play very well last game. We gave you player of the game, but apparently you don't like it. So unlucky there. Welcome back. Of course, we are here for the deciding game of the series. Cloud9 in first place. They dropped the first game in a CLG. They came back very strong in game 2. And now we get the exciting game 3.
And I think it's a pretty big one for both teams. I mean, CLG fighting to get a playoff spot. And C9 definitely want to keep their bye, A, and stay ahead of TSM, B. You know? So I think those are definitely some big stakes for them. And to touch on Sneaky's point a little bit, it feels to me like AD carries are often very enabled by your team. Yes, you can have a standout performance, but even if you're popping off, if your team is doing awful and their front line is way ahead of yours, it becomes very difficult to look good in those games.
Right, I agree. The role is very team dependent. I mean, much like support. Like, I guess you can have like games, like game-winning thresh hooks and stuff, but you're right. If you're playing Caitlyn, you don't get to 1v9. This is not how the champion works. Same for Jhin, things like that.
Be enabled by your team.
Exactly. You very much have to. When you contrast to people like an Echo split pushing, gets 3 turrets uncontested, like that kind of stuff.
Or whatever.
Absolutely. So I tend to agree that there is some stuff there, but it will be interesting to watch. Either way, all 10 players are ready. Of course, Ray is staying in the lineup, and we can see if this formula continues to work for Cloud9.
There's certainly a lot of faith in this guy. Either way, despite what we think, who is better, which is the proper decision, C9 is putting a lot of faith in him. They have the confidence to win with Ray. They pick up game 2. We'll see if he can close out a 2-0 series for himself.
Absolutely, yeah. He can personally 2-0 CLG and keep Cloud9 in first place. Malzahar and Varus, no surprise on bans. It's actually interesting. I was looking up some stats between the games because now that Korea is actually on 7.4 themselves, Varus has technically 0% presence in bot lane because there's 0 picks on him. He's 22 bans out of 22 games. And of course, in North America, continuing to ban him out as well. Camille and LeBlanc, no surprise to be banned off the table, the same.
It just makes a lot of sense. I mean, these two champions are both being hit next patch in 7.5. So that is where I'm super excited for the pick ban, because I think that relieving those required bans allows for more flexibility.
Yep, totally agree. And one final ban to come through here for Cloud9 is they've got to figure out what they do or don't want to deal with from Darshan. It's the Shen actually banned, I believe, 3 games in a row, specifically by Cloud9.
And Rumble taken away this time around, right? But Lulu going to go CLG's way, and they're putting so much priority on this champion. It worked out big time, I would say, in game 1. Game 2, definitely not going so hot for CLG as they got 2v2 kills very early in the bot lane, and Afro was never really able to kind of come online.
And so far, 7 choices in a champ select. It's the exact same champ select as game 1 right now. The ban's the same order, the first pick the same. And if it's going to be the same again, it's going to be, instead of Great Zestro, it's going to be Rengar picked up. So a different look now for Cloud9, switching up the script. They don't want to deal with Lulu Rengar, apparently.
Yeah.
They do something else different as well.
Smithy actually had a good Rengar game in game 1. So despite a lot of the criticism he gets, they're not going to give that over to him. And this could also just simply be like Contract saying, you know what, who cares what he plays? I want to play what's good for me.
We know the Rengar can be very, very powerful, of course. Contracts had played Rengar last game, and they won that one. Rengar so far 2-0 in the series, and the Jace going to come through, actually, and it was almost ignored for most of the rest of this champ select, but Jace is in as an early pickup.
And Jace, because Rumble is already taken off the table, it's not necessarily as easy to fit him in the composition. A lot of people have been loving to play him mid, but because you have an AD jungler and an AD mid laner, I don't think that you also, want to kind of run it like that with a tank topside. So very often this is probably going to be a top Jace, I would think, and that can make it kind of difficult because you end up in a composition with no tanks, and top lane Jace has not been successful this year.
Well, we'll see what happens. Greg is going to be picked up quickly by CLG, and we know it can be a top or jungle flex right now. I would actually put my money on jungle being the better role for it, although of course Graves can be very powerful. There's options here, of course.
It's actually shown up in every other major region so far as a jungler on this patch. It's been in Korea, it's been in EU, it's been in LPL, LMS even, so it's been showing up all around the world. And now it's going to perhaps make its debut in NA, but certainly can still work as a top lane bruiser, and actually does pretty well up there too.
And of course, no surprise here that Karma's going to mirror the role with the Lulu, so we once again have a game, actually this time around, with different roles picked up. I guess we've had that before as well, but an early bot laner grabbed by CLG. And a flex top mid for C9, which if you're going to get desynced roles, I think having a flex pick is hugely important there.
It certainly can be. I would expect CLG to perhaps look to target the AD carry role, especially Sneaky loves to play Jhin. You could look to take that down if you want to go for it, but it may not be really a concern of theirs, despite Sneaky being so strong on it.
We'll see what ends up happening here. The teams have to craft the compositions, and CLG must be at peace with the fact that their bans might mean nothing if the Jace just flexes into the role they banned away. Taking plenty of time here. Nautilus off the table.
Well, and that's why, once again, you can focus the AD carry role, right? That's something that's always going to work as that pick ban. But
Totally
with
agree.
Trundle taken away, it looks like it is more focused top. I'm kind of expecting that this is actually going to be a top lane Jace. And
I think they're trying to force Jace top, and they have a counter pick ready. That's my guess.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, if it does go top, you're in this kind of awkward no tank position again. We have not seen it work out, so we'll have to see if C9 can pull it off, or they can still flex it mid and maybe show us something a little bit different topside.
Oh, we know where C9's mind is. Can we remove all the split pushers from Darshan? His Kled didn't look that great. Poppy left on the table. Poppy, I think, can be good into Jace. It's one of those matchups where it feels like you will outscale eventually. We saw that a lot at Worlds, and you get bullied and then it doesn't matter and you're too tanky. So either C9 rush pick the Poppy or Darshan gets what I think is actually a pretty good champion for the matchup.
So if they do lock in Renekton here, a C9 is setting themselves up for a full AD comp. Now, if I'm CLG, you simply go into, unless you play Ziggs, that's a very good point. You can go into a tank-heavy top laner and neutralize a lot of that. Ziggs can throw a wrench in the gears there. We'll see if Sneaky has that prepared, because that would make a lot of sense.
Would have to go to
where they can bring in.
It would have to go to Huhi, because Sneaky's got a champion. Or sorry, I heard Stick say for some reason in my head. I wonder if CLG could deny that pick away or force an all AD team, or I guess there's even, unless like Jace went bot, Karma went mid. I don't think so. So yeah, the Poppy comes through. No surprise here. Poppy into Renekton. Don't know the matchup that well. I feel like it's reasonably close, but obviously Cloud9 felt good blind pick in the Rumble, or the Renekton kind of affecting the matchup.
You could do Ziggs mid, right? You could do Ziggs mid for Huhi, take that away from C9, and then put them in an all-AD composition versus Gragas, Poppy, Lulu.
Yeah, good
Huhi
luck
can
with that.
play this. I actually think that would be like a severely outdrafted composition, but they're not going to go for it. And there's no guarantee that Cloud9 even wants to play the Ziggs.
Sure.
But it does seem to be the thing that makes their composition work.
Well, going to be a couple of black cleaver uses, at least for Cloud9. We know that a lot of them can all do it, as several different bot laners are hovered here for Cloud9. Shout out Double Lift, who played some Draven on the Friday. Didn't work for him, but at least he tried.
Yeah, Draven to cap off that all AD comp into Poppy Gragas.
Ooh, I want to go against armor stacking, and it's going to be the flex pick Jace. It is the flex pick Jace. I thought it might have been Karma mid, but it's Jace bot lane, and it will be Victor mid to round out the comp. Not the flex I was expecting exactly, but all right, look at this.
Very
going to be a different look here.
Now, this is really cool. I'm not sure how much this has been practiced. So this is a throwback. We had seen this a long time ago. There was this brief stint where we actually saw some people like Deft even playing Jace AD, but they ran teleport and stuff like that. So there was definitely some experimentation around this. And I have seen occasionally in solo queue people playing Jace bot, but it's certainly not a common thing.
Not at all.
And we'll see how well they can actually match up in the 2v2. This does give them a more well-balanced damage profile, as well as some pretty strong sieging, and you can have your AD split off as a split pusher and be very strong against, an Ezreal or whatever. But as far as the 2v2 goes, I certainly think it can be very tough for Jace.
I think Karma's a reasonable pickup for it, at least, because you do have some all-in power, and Karma can be an aggressive laner, so I think that 2-on-2 can work. But one thing that's going to be difficult here is that Jace is more level-dependent than other bot laners, or other marksmen, because he's actually got 6 ranks in his main skill, so your actual max rank Q comes at level 11, not level 9, and that takes a lot longer when you're sharing XP in the early game. So Sneaky's going to take, I think, quite a bit longer to come online here overall, but if it works, it works.
It certainly could, and we'll see how. I mean, if you look across the board, there are definitely some nice matchups for C9. In the top lane, I think that Renekton and Poppy can be quite solid. That said, I have certainly heard people talking about, Skara was talking about how Ahri is very good into the Victor. So we'll see how this actually does play out. Because if you're looking at that lane matchup, it could certainly go Huhi's way.
Yeah. So far, though, Jensen has gotten the better of the matchup. Some of that could be specifically playing TP Echo, but either way, it has been C9 favored in the mid lane.
Yeah, both games.
Absolutely agree, but here we go into the third and final one.
The triple reju of Poppy. We've seen this on Shen a couple times, where Shen can actually very easily kind of make use of this. One goes into Tiamat and things like that, but Poppy doesn't have as many build options with the reju bead.
Yeah, but she's got 7 health per second regen right now, so getting bullied by the Renekton going to be a bit difficult. Is going for Grasp of the Undying, the more laning phase focused one. I do think it makes sense when you're against the lane bully, just to...
And it's so easy to proc, especially once you have your Sunfire. You stay in combat off the minions. You can use your passive when you throw out your shield and proc the Grasp very easily with that. Ooh, ouch.
Bit of damage on Aframu and more gold earned by Smoothie. Early dominance in lane.
So Afro is actually going to base. We'll see if he actually gets back in time or misses some XP. I think
he'll miss XP.
I think he's going to miss XP, yeah. So this does put 6A in a little bit of a weird position. 6A now has to play pretty safely, knowing that his support had to base and the other lane, you're not sure if they're actually there or not. And if he steps forward and face checks a Jace and a Karma, their level 1s are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And you can get chunked out and essentially lose a lane right off of a misstep like that.
So Ray giving as much of a leash as he can. Contract's going to get level 2 off the small ones. And nice by Jensen, jukes out one half of Huhi's Q. And as Afro walks into lane, he is not going to miss XP. Actually, just barely slinked into range and got the melee there. So it was 6A being pushed back. Yeah, that was actually a pretty big deal. But it's still the push lead for the C9 duo. And I guess it's really kind of no harm, no foul. It's not too bad for CLG right now.
Nope, doesn't end up mattering much. But certainly always something good to track. I mean, if the other team both is level 2 and you have a level 1 support, you can look to go aggressive, especially on someone like Jace, who can simply jump in on people if the opportunity arises.
Yep, and it should still be level 2 first for the C9 duo. They've got a bit more damage on the wave, but it's not off by too much, and we'll see if much happens. Ray, of course, level 2 first. No surprise here as he pushes in. Level 2 comes at a similar time, and a really good amount of poke on a Sneaky, actually. The Little Lance lands into a Mystic Shot as well, and there we go. That's part of that power. Now that's a pretty long cooldown, to be fair. It's going to remain rank 1E for a while, but still good damage to deal, and 6A is now out of potions.
And Sinky does have the longsword 3-pot start, so he's going to have more sustain in these early levels than Sneaky is. So we'll see how many of the Shock Blasts he can actually land. A lot of it will come down to who kind of just is better with their poke.
Sure, absolutely, and still more of that poke is landing. Right now, CLG. They put some more damage across, and it's really a pretty good back and forth. Nice dodge on that little shot right there, and now
he's going in. Darshan was walking out.
Gonna land the body slam, and I guess he was afraid of Ray all-inning with all the fury he's got. And yeah, you can see Darshan very afraid of all-ins from Ray because they know how much damage can be had there.
And Darshan had actually already used his flash, so he definitely was getting all-in there. At least Smithy comes and makes it an even trade of flashes. So some parity back to the lane, and that does make you play as the aggressor a lot more safe. And I also think that a trade of flashes is actually worse for the Renekton because he wants to bully and really kind of control the early.
Yeah, and it needs that to get away from some of the ganks that might come through here. Quick scars, look at the spots that Smithy is doing this camp right now, but it doesn't really matter as Contract's also stealing away the Krugs. So the fact that Smithy had to go up there actually does give a bit of a lead to Contract. He's used that nicely. Sneaky out of mana right now, but a nice chunk on Aframu actually kiting forwards.
Yeah, and he actually took both sides of that, and Rengar is behind them. Contracts could look for the flash kill. We'll see if they can pull it off.
I don't know if it's going to happen. Can't get the bulla either, and a couple of nice shots on the Contracts. Loses 200, 300 HP. CLG staying afloat.
Yeah, the Smoothie has no potions, neither does Afro. So this is where skill shot accuracy becomes incredibly important. Whoever hits the next couple shots can force their opponent out of the lane. Very
like
easily.
This, forcing someone to kill, but look at the shots back onto him. Sneaky.
Stixey's going to go forward. Afro is
going
here.
for this, but the exhaust is on. He's got to
He has no heal.
Ooh, the shield comes in. Afro's got to be in danger as well. A couple more hits come through, but Smithy's out of mana. And that was a pretty tight trade right there.
Everyone's coming down. Smithy and Huhi made the roam.
And they're going to look to force a
Body
burst
slam
recall.
flash available.
Yeah, someone to heal in. It's going to be Smoothie. We're running out of health, and the first blood's going to come in. Donated over to Huhi's auto attack. And CLG get the better of the play.
The big roam comes in. Huhi making the move down. C9 cannot contest that. It's very tight bot lane here. Ends up going CLG's way.
And it's a farm lead for 6A as well. He's plus 12 in minions right now. That's more than the wave is. So nicely done CLG overall.
Yeah, this was ridiculously close. So much pressure on these players here. As Stixay, his heal is forced out, but he looks to trade back pretty aggressively. And the cannon minion and the wave retaliating as well gives him some confidence. But Afro flashing in and shielding this barely saves him there.
It actually
really,
came after
really
the
close.
auto. I think the shield actually blocked no damage at all. But either way, it is. Yeah, C9 just running away, and Xmithie just landing the body slam.
Yeah, this is a nice body slam.
Flash over to make sure
Flash
it's
body
minion.
slam, yep.
That was actually required. He wouldn't have gotten that play otherwise.
Either way, summoners were down. They're able to pick it up.
Yeah.
Pretty good stuff.
Definitely agree. And CLG, 300 gold lead off the first blood. They were otherwise getting out lane. You can see the 10 deficit in the mid lane and minus 10 in the top lane as well. Ray getting a little bit out of this one as he shoves in. And the Ninja Tabby rush for Darshan to stay alive.
Yep, and he does have that triple rejuve beat, so a lot of regen. He's going to start stabilizing, and the more armor you get, even though Renekton is building pretty aggressive, it actually becomes pretty hard to outpace the defensive stats of the Poppy.
Yeah.
You know, when you're sitting on things like a bombing and a chain vest plus tabbies, even if Ray is on components of a Black Cleaver, it's tough to actually get a lot of damage out.
I totally agree. I think Darshan's going to be pretty safe overall. Maybe he doesn't 1v1 him super well, but Poppy gets a lot of damage even just for building tank. And he's kind of a semi-bruiser in that regard, not a full tank in some respects.
The base stats are very high on Poppy's damage, so you certainly can be pretty powerful. If you want to build towards something like an Iceborne, your dueling potential definitely rises up quite heavily.
Absolutely. We'll see if he can get more of that happening. He's tied up the farm pretty much here.
Still mid lane going Jensen's way in the farm. You know, 3 out of 3. Jensen is just such a strong laner.
Yeah.
You know, Hui will have a little bit of a cold edge because he got the first blood from his roam.
Sure.
But still, you know, Jensen has to be complimented for how well he lanes and how consistently he lanes.
Absolutely agree. And compliments to Contracts as well, winning his jungle match, looking for the play. Gonna get charmed up though, and actually burned the cleanse a bit early and takes a bit of damage there. But Contracts individually actually up almost 400 gold over Xmithie, and that's after Xmithie got that first blood assist for the 75 or 150 gold there. So
yeah, and that's because Xmithie goes top, he loses a camp bot side, goes bot, loses another camp. So Contracts is definitely power farming and making that work. Unfortunately for him, the fact that his first ultimate was a flub, it does hurt him a bit in that regard, because Xmithie is going to hit 6 and be able to pull off a very powerful gank. The level 6 on Gragas is one of the hardest to avoid ganks.
totally agree, and he's going to be coming up pretty soon here. And if you got follow through with things like Poppy or follow through with an Ahri, that is very hard to deal with. Xmithie going to keep clearing his jungle the best he can. So you continue on forward. Stixxay still holding this 12 minion lead. Nice little trade for Smoothie. And actually able to cut away from this one.
I'm also going to be pretty excited to see what Xmithie is going to build as far as total build path here. Generally speaking, people do go for the AP jungle enchant, then into tank. But some people do like to go for kind of more of the hybrid bruiser type items, grab CDR, Iceborne Gauntlet, things like that, where other players are going to commit to just full tank utility type builds. And
yeah,
I think there's a lot of things that can work for Gragas, which is kind of what makes it fun.
So what he goes for here is, of course, doing the magic damage enchant, not the Cinder Hulk, and almost everyone does go for. Ooh, the flash follow in, exhausted against Jensen, trying to flash, get away from it all. Still a kill comes through, but the slow is in for Gragas, that's the kill, and the trade comes through, and I think a little bit worth it for CLG. They get the assist, and they get control of mid lane.
Yeah, they will. Still a nice play from Jensen, and had Xmithie not been there, he would have executed on that kill. Hui actually flashing to the other side of the ultimate here, so this may have looked pretty weird. But what he actually is doing is he's flashing away from the ultimate while his opponent is charmed to avoid that tick of the damage, but does get taken out regardless. And Xmithie, splat. Able to clean that up.
Yeah, the thing is, Chaos Storm moves faster the closer it is to Victor, and so if you're going to the other side of the champion, it zips past you, and he actually only missed 1 tick overall. Maybe a flash to the right would have changed that, but either way, it is, of course, the trade, and they're going to all kind of stay the same right here. Quick recall to come in for the bot lane. And I actually want to know if Sneaky's going to go for a tier-focused build or not. Of course, he got the early serrated Dirk, but...
Yeah, I don't think you're probably going to go tier if you don't.
Probably not.
This early. Generally speaking, you want to get that tier stacking, but that said, that's one of the things that can be tougher about bot lane Jace versus mid lane Jace. Blue buffs are likely going to go over to Jensen, and you don't always get those. And without that blue buff, it can be kind of tough sometimes to keep your men up.
Definitely agree, and we'll see. As right now, he's just going to complete the Youmuu's Ghost Blade. No huge surprise there. He just is not going to go for a tier stack. Stixxay a later recall. And stacking the tier, of course.
As far as combat power, the Jace is going to be massively ahead of the Ezreal. You know, when you complete that Ghost Blade, I think that it's such a big power spike. So you can look to try to get aggressive and really kind of get an advantage from that, because despite the small CS disadvantage, if you can get a kill or even pull your opponent out, you can even it up pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Right now, Mana Moon done for Stixxay means he'll stack up even faster than before, and He's going to hit that Muramana power spike nice and early. Contracts. Hits S, make sure the buff goes over to Jensen. But still that 20 minion lead for the C9 mid laner. Again, compliments to Jensen for consistently being a huge threat in lane, almost always winning it.
He has just been such a strong player for such a long time now. He has really been consistent, and the development of Jensen into this star player has been pretty exciting. I remember his first game coming into the league against TSM. I believe he played Xerath actually. He was down like 100 CS and stuff, and against Bjergsen. It's crazy to see how far he has come. Just as far as consistency and overall performance, he's a total package player. Yeah, and this might be the first time in a long time that Cloud9 are maybe keen to win a North American Championship. Again, they're the first place team right now. Of course, there's still more league to play, but for the first time in years, they're probably the favorites coming into playoffs, coming into the end of the season. We'll see if they can retain this form. They haven't really done it since the days of Meteos and high in the mid lane and whatnot. So, you know, maybe bright things ahead for this new look C9 roster. And now the focus on the bot side of the map. An early Ocean Drake, 12 minutes, not bad. Still more laning phase to play, means they get a lot out of this. And it would help to alleviate some of the mana issues of a tierless Jace. But Smithy, is he going to go for a steal? Looks like he wants to. He steals it!
Nicely done, Xmithy, and gets away with it. Not even burning any summoner, not named Smite. Beautifully done by Xmithy. Playing much better than he has for most of this year. The charm comes in, not going to find a lot on a Jensen, who he's still going to kite away nicely. Body slam on a contract, forcing the flash out. Sneaky's in a dangerous position. The flash Q auto attack comes through and sticks the kill.
Chasing.
Jensen's going to be next. The 2 for 0 plus the Drake. All right, 1 kill comes through, but Aftermove okay to give his life. Didn't ult himself though, so maybe a misplay by the CLG support. Still advantage CLG. Into the mid lane they go.
And they're pushing mid lane turret. The bot lane is going to be shoved. Ray is looking to try to get a turret back here. And we'll see if the race does go CLG's way. It likely will, but maybe not with the minion wave going down now.
It's going to be a bit
close.
Should have
blocked that Q from Smoothie. That's actually really big. And that does mean the first turret will go over to C9.
And that's a really big deal. A slight mechanical misplay right there means a 300 gold bonus goes to C9 and not CLG. Ray able to capitalize on something in the top lane. He has 30 minions up on Darshan with the completed Black Cleaver. And it's the opposite of game 1 here, where C9 have all their hopes right now, it feels like, on their top laner, whereas CLG seem to start winning everywhere else.
Yeah, and Darshan makes this roam so early. He doesn't actually use the TP, so able to get a nice smite down, and they actually get the ult early out of Contracts. When Contracts re-engages, this signals CLG to go in for the fight. And I mean, their top laner is not here, whereas Darshan has already arrived. Smithy with a really nice body slam flash there, and they're able to get the stun over onto Jensen. Really across all the sides, CLG was making some good plays.
Ray had a huge misplay right there. He wanted TP in the fight, and he clicked the mini-map in TP to the top lane inhibitor turret, and had to cancel, so he clicks the wrong spot on his screen. That's huge. Actually a big deal. So he wanted to be part of the fight and goes, oh, I screwed up, guys, please. I'm sorry, I didn't show up to the fight. You gotta get away from this one. And of course, CLG gets something back. Ray, though, keeps the gold equal by pushing the top lane. Maybe in the grand scheme of things, not TPing is the right play because of how it plays out with first turret gold. Either way, the game is tied in money. CLG have the Ocean Drake thanks to an Xmithy steal, and we are back to resetting on this game with a pretty large lead for Ray individually thanks to that 25 minion lead. And the turret,
big, but Poppy, even on less gold, can still be highly effective, and they have the TP advantage here too for a while because Darshan did run all the way down. So despite the error from Ray, C9 still in there, and Smithy is wrapping around. They're looking to take out Sneaky, but Rengar moving down. We'll be here to counter that play. So far, that
Jace not gonna get the steal. Good smite by Xmithy. Ray still pushing in. And by the way, Ray is 1,100 gold up over Darshan. That's what first turret gold will do for you. Local gold's a thing. 1,200 gold up, actually. And that's the advantage that C9 must use because the rest of their team are, by, you know, math, down 1,200 gold in the 4v4. Sneaky keeping his bot lane turret alive. We'll see if CLG can push more later.
And I think that, honestly, even despite this advantage, the fact that there's Tabby's completed, plus that Sunfire Cape, Darshan can easily hold the Renekton. And
look at that.
He can hold him at his turret, no problem, and even get somewhat aggressive with the grasp and try to whittle him down a little bit.
Speaking of getting aggressive, though, Smithy in the battle with Contracts, both level 9, and look at this, Gragas is bodying him around.
TP coming in now.
Float, he's gonna die for this one. Nice pickup there goes to Huhi.
Here's the Renekton.
The re-engage, the knockup is there, but Smithy gonna run out of HP, and now the push is on towards Huhi, who does not have any dashes left, and Sneaky in the battle with Darshan, who picks that one up. Meanwhile, a trade kill comes in for Stixxay. COG have lost 3, they've lost 4. What a big fight, a quadra kill for the Renekton. Ray sadly loses his life. It's no Penta for him, but Jensen gonna clean up what his fellow solo lane started as Darshan has a lot of armor, but no magic resist. This will be a kill through to Jensen. The ace for Cloud9 and the gold lead for the red team.
The advantage pays off for Ray as he's able to get in the middle of that fight in between all these carries, and he is just enormous. And here it is starting up, but it's all about the Renekton coming in, and this is where all their gold is. You called it out, Freak. He had to be big, and one of the key things is kind of the commitment onto Sneaky. You'll watch Stixxay going forward onto Sneaky there. Now they're just ignoring the Renekton to finish off Sneaky. They do get that, but look at this empowered Q right here. Just crushing through the health of all of these members. Health. It's just insane how much damage he got there. And while they do clean up Sneaky, Ray was the real concern. And this right there, while that looks like a funny whiff, I think he's actually trying to anticipate a flash. That is I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there, because many people do try to flash that telegraph play. Regardless, Jensen didn't even have his flash, and it ends up being a big whiff, so it's a mistake either way, but I don't think that Darshan just whiffed it that badly. Right, yeah,
there's always reasons for anything at this kind of level of play, and right now it's the way it is, but Ray is obviously massive. He's going towards even more durability here. The Tiamat's in for the attack reset, and you break out of the animation with W, and it's going to be difficult. Jarm's Fist for durability. Ninja Tabby is good against Poppy. She is mostly a physical damage dealer. Of course, Grasp and Sunfire are magic, so it's not entirely one damage type, but look at this Ray just really pushing him out. Lots of damage done there. Fervor of Battle helps, and Darshan can no longer handle this matchup. He's down 50 CS at this point. Ray is going to smash this matchup. Yeah, it's definitely tough, but at the same time, can Ray actually kill him under his turret and take the turrets? I think that Darshan still should be able to hold on for the most part and just clear the minion waves as long as he keeps moving forward, contesting, dropping Qs on the wave, and kind of just thinning it out. So a lot of it is going to be about Ray converting his advantage elsewhere on the map, which he did fantastically in that fight, and is again moving down for this dragon. And Darshan doesn't have TP. Ray is first here. Yeah, and that will be such a menace. And I think TP down is even the best way to play with a lane advantage, because you can't just show up for free. You have to give away some map pressure to do so. So yes, Ray pushed in, walks down. Darshan tries to match. Ray can walk back top side and get some alone time with the turret if he wants. But he's going to stay in control mid lane a bit here, take the Raptors, and make sure mid tier 2 stays alive. Well, it looks like CLG have gotten the edge on this dragon, because Hui pushed up, all of C9 went back to try to cover that, and the vision that CLG had gotten means despite a massive top lane disadvantage, they're the ones who walk away with the dragon and now have 2 in a row. Well played, Chronologic Gaming, navigating into that Drake with the 1,200 gold deficit. Well played to them. 2-0 on Drakes, 1 from Xmithy Steel, 1 from this, so that is something keeping them in this game, absolutely. It is certainly concerning, though, the amount of minions that Darshan is getting behind, and the fact that the wave was actually pushing against him the whole time means a fat minion wave is actually stacked up for Ray to collect. Experience is the biggest of deals to me in this. I think that if you're down CS, it's rough, but as long as you're close on levels, it's more okay, and Darshan's falling behind in both regards. And that's going to make it difficult. 2 levels is rough. Otherwise, the team is pretty close here. Supports, spot laners, junglers about the same. And pressure for bot lane tier 2. We're seeing CLG make plays with the 4-on-4. That kind of core squad is pretty equivalent or even ahead, and CLG able to make that one happen. And now C9 trying to push up mid, but Hui already back there, so making a good roam to bot side, pressuring the bot lane away, and that gives his team a turret. 2,600 gold lead for Ray individually, and yet only a 700 gold lead for C9 as a team. So the 4-on-4 of CLG is up 2,000 gold. And that's what CLG is using, right? They're letting Darshan, as you're mentioning, Darshan can survive in the matchup, right? He can handle it overall, and that's what's happening right here. Yeah, you can see a lot of that lead is specifically Stixxay over Sneaky right now. This Jace pick isn't paying off just yet. That is almost 2,000 gold just individually there. So that is like really big. The fact that he is on Triforce already, working towards that Muramana, he's going to be so strong in these fights, and does have the protection of that Lulu. We'll see what Stixxay can get done there, as I think it's a lot harder to team fight on the Jace than it is on an Ezreal. I agree. I think Ezreal's going to be significantly better for, I think, the entirety of the game, honestly. Yeah. It's one of the reasons we don't see Jace bot a lot, is I feel like it's hard to maneuver the champion, but either way, CLG also 4x Ninja Tabby. This time I do like it because all the gold's on the Renekton. It is a triple AD team. It's only Jensen bringing in meaningful magic damage. This time I do like the Ninja Tabbies, and CLG itemizing to not die to him. And Ray down in that bot lane, level 14 now, highest in the game, pushing for this turret. And Darshan needs to be on him. He needs to be taking down these minion waves and thinning them out as fast as possible.
because it's about contesting the minions, not about contesting the Renekton.
And he does that, of course. The Q and the Sunfire Cape one-shots the caster minions, full combos them, and able to get the rest done. So not a lot of headway done right now for Ray as CLG continues to make plays in the full-on floor.
One thing I do think Darshan should be trying to do is push up towards the mini wave and actually start getting little bits of damage down on the minions as early as possible. If he can start thinning out that mini wave even earlier, it means less chip damage that Ray can get down every time. Because if you let him get even an auto-win or two every time, he's going to clear it out eventually. But yeah, throwing your passive at a minion, dropping down a Q and then retreating, and then it comes into the minions like this, this means that he doesn't actually get a chance to contest.
See that, yeah, W comes in, Ray can't dash into him, and it's not even that big of a problem for Darshan to keep wave clearing.
Easy peasy.
CLG going to keep playing the Siege game. Of course, mid lane outer is already dead. It's top outer and mid lane tier 2 are the somewhat easy targets here. Ray going to walk forward this time around, and there's a couple hundred damage. And this might be enough for him, actually. He's going to ignore Darshan a bit, and he knows that even chunked to 2/3 HP, he can survive the 1-on-1 afterwards, so getting that pressure done. And Ray is making headway, and it's more than CLG is. CLG aren't getting past the mid line.
No, they definitely are, and it does eventually become one of those things where you have to make a call to do something on one side or the other. Darshan, I think he's just going to sacrifice the turret on this wave. I don't think he's really going to go back in and contest it because that full wave is still alive.
Yeah, he played a bit of split push. He forced Jensen to react to it, and now it's CLG trying to take over the jungle. And that's going to be the turret. Ray a bit low, but he has ulti available. Q's for the heal. Now ults for the heal, and suddenly more HP than Darshan means that Poppy is out of mana and can't fight for much more.
Smithy's coming down, though, and Darshan is trying to keep him around. They want to take this guy down, but still, will they have enough damage to actually very easily do it?
Goes for the flash play. Really big by Ray. One more hit will do it, but no! The Savior is here, and Smithy turns it around. That was almost sick from Ray. But nicely done, the CLG gets the kill after all.
Yeah, very good play from Ray, trying to go for that outplay, but still, Darshan able to quickly flash, land the stun himself, and that is enough time for Smithy to crash in and take down the Croc.
Yep, took him down. Steve Irwin himself and Smithy wrestling him and getting rid of the Gators.
This is a really close play, and it just came down to the fact that Smithy is coming down here. Ray goes in, flashes, lands that stun. Darshan able to return the stun thanks to the big box of Renekton on that corner.
And Darshan has the presence of mind to grab his shield, land the grass damage, knows he could not die through the shield, and plays that one almost perfectly himself.
One thing I do think a little bit strange about Darshan is, you know, he's going straight into the Spirit Visage. Do you need this much MR against the 1 AP threat when you're kind of stuck in a side wave against the Renekton? I do feel like building a little bit more towards that matchup can work more in your favor, especially when it's, you know, it's an ADC bot lane, it's an AD jungle. I think that you can get away with just sitting on a cowl and building towards like a nice Glacial Shroud or something.
It's interesting. So in general, I agree. If I was playing this game, I would just go like Randwind Omen and say screw it.
Yeah.
What it's worth though, I think if you're going to go Cowl, finishing Visage is actually better. It's a lot more HP. It's, you know, CDR for your spells and whatnot. And it's if you're going to buy Cowl, you might as well finish Visage, is my opinion. The extra heal on Grasp, things like that. I don't have the math, but I'm pretty sure that would be more efficient overall. And either way, it's the play Darshan goes for. Debatable or not, it's what he's got. And it'll make him helpful against Jensen, even if it's not quite as good against the Renekton matchup.
They are going to be looking to fight around this dragon again. And it's kind of just coming down to where the...
Oh, nice try. Goes to the Charm Flash, but Sneaky was already turning around and not going to find it. He goes to the big play and not going to have it.
That could be big for this next fight. I mean, Huhi down his Flash. It's still a very mobile champion on this Ahri. We'll see what they can get done. The dragon has spawned now.
CLG have the inside track to play for this. Muramana already done for Stixxay. Means lots of poke. Lands the ult on a couple. Contracts are Havoc. Smithy rooted up. Contracts in. The Wild Growth, the trade of junglers.
Stixxay
Fight goes in. Looking for the damage on Darshan. They take out the tank. They burned him down, and Huhi has to kite back. But Stixxay is still alive. Looking for a bit more damage. Can't find the charm. But he's not going to be able to kill off Jensen anymore. Sneaky cutting back as well. Flashes down for the bot laners. Big stun from Ray is going to be the setup for Huhi. They've got the kill from Jensen. They're going to get the ace. One more hit will do it. And just like last time, Ray gets the play, and the kills come through, and C9 wins the fight.
Ray so strong there, and it just feels like time and time again, CLG are hesitant to back off one of these fights. They always commit to it right down to the end, end up getting ace here. They're going to lose the dragon and mid lane turret too. Was very close margins, but some missed skill shots kind of ending up making you going C9's way.
And it's going to be the fight that goes well for C9. They get the Mountain Drake the first of the game. This one not going to be stolen away by Smithy. And they split the resources up nicely. Sneaky and Smoothie duo the Drake. The Renekton solos the mid lane. Ray takes that one down, and you watch the fight again.
And here's the initiation once more. Darshan not able to actually block out the jump of Rengar on that ultimate, which would have been pretty key. And Smithy does not even get his ultimate off yet. And then you can see Stixxay, he misses the Q, he goes over the wall, ends up missing another. Does hit some on the trail end of this fight and is able to clean up a kill, but Ezreal is so skill shot dependent. If you're not hitting these, you're not going to be able to be effective enough. And so much of the gold is on Stixxay that it was really on him to be big in this fight.
Yep. And props to Titanic Hydra, actually. He got a lot of those hits off while Ray was going for Huhi. He actually got some of that splash onto Stixxay because Stixxay killed off Jensen before he died.
Yeah.
It was actually Smoothie who did the last hit because of the damage Ray put through with Titanic. It was actually part of the point of that item was to hit the backline through the front line, and it happened there.
You got to think, though, if Darshan blocked that jump of the Rengar, Smithy probably gets his ultimate off.
Knocks
that fight
in Ray.
Massively different.
Sure.
So these slimmest of margins. And Poppy, you have to be on point with those plays in the team fights because that is so much of your kit's power, right? It's the potential of that steadfast presence and your ultimate. And if you're not hitting good ones, you're not contributing a lot.
Tend to agree with you. So that's the way it played out, though, and C9 in the driver's seat, 2,000 gold lead. They finally got a Mountain Drake for themselves, which will be nice for turret plays and Baron baits. Word control back towards Cloud9, and we can start watching from their perspective what they're doing right now. Their vision control is better than CLG's. There's really no deep wards to speak of from the blue squad, and C9 actually doing a decent job of getting wards towards the river.
I've got to say, overall, I'm super impressed with how Ray has played this game. Both in extending his advantage in the side lanes, but also in bringing it to the team fights and actually executing on team fight plays. He has really been successful in all areas, and even the GA purchase allows him to get that much more aggressive in the next team fight. With his flash available, he can go for some really aggressive backline plays because Stixxay and Huhi both don't have theirs, and he can commit to an all-in, trade his life out, come back up with the GA and get a team fight win.
Yeah, it really is interesting watching Renekton in the current year as opposed to like 2012 or 2013 when he was popular, is there's a lot better bruiser items now. Titanic Hydra exists, Black Cleaver's an item when it wasn't before. It was like built out of a dagger a few years ago and things like that. And for those like me who are old and have watched League since 2009 or so, Renekton is a much different beast. I think he falls off much less than he used to back in the old days of Sunfire capable tank. He's actually got meaningful contributions in team fights, and it's hard for me to reset my opinion of that champion, but he really can continue to do well in team fights here in this day and age.
He definitely can. I do still think that he gets outscaled by a lot of other top laners.
Pure tanks, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, Titanic works so well with building into tank also, because its damage is scaling with your HP. So you're kind of getting the best of both worlds with this item, and that is a lot of really what the power is here. And there's so many top laners now that have success with Black Cleaver Titanic and Triforce Titanic, these kind of builds. So you're relatively tanky, you have very high damage, you get the CDR. It's just overall a very effective build.
I agree, he's going to keep trying to do that. Level 16 still has that lead over everyone else in the game, not named Jensen. Sneaky, finally level 13 here, has a nice couple levels on his belt. And the question is, can Cloud9 continue to convert on their advantage? As you mentioned, Renekton probably does still get outscaled a little bit by champions like Poppy. I tend to agree. Charm's going to miss from who? He doesn't get meaningful damage on a contract either.
Oh, and here the TP. They're looking for this play. Remember, no flash on Stixxay.
Will be able to kite away a little bit. Body some on a contract. Look for the knock-in. They're going to get knocked down. The front liners can't quite do it. Redemption heal on both sides. And keep their health bars afloat. Stixxay chunked down to 3/4. So far, so good on both sides. Health bars are here. Huhi almost hit up by Ray. Darshan still holding the front. Smithy going to do the same. 2-tank team for CLG. C9 only quasi-frontliners. Both Rengar and Renekton not as big as their counterparts. Body slam on the Ray means some
lots of
damage
on him,
Yeah, down to half HP. And that's going to be enough to force a recall out of some of these C9 members. More Poker 6, he really wants to push forward. He's got the support of his teammates. Ray, ooh, not in a good spot. He's going to get the GA pop, just maybe. The CLG can't quite reach into him. The flash for Darshan, he guesses wrong. I think he thought he'd catch Sneaky, didn't find it.
Didn't have vision there, couldn't actually execute on the stun, but still, CLG pushed them back. They shove in on this tier 2 turret, gonna be able to take that down, and perhaps establish some vision around the Baron. And Stixxay executing on his strength there. They were able to protect him. He's on 3 items, and the front line allowed him to get a lot of damage out. Chunking Ray out like that was so key, because Ray cannot then just commit fully to the fight without going down too fast.
Absolutely, good stuff right now. Cloud9 losing a bit of the map. Charm on towards Ray. Whimsy's here. The flash. The Charm's going to land actually in front of the Slice and Dice.
Contract's on the side. C9 wants to fight.
A little bit more. Can he
Ray got knocked out.
There we go. Ray all the way back. And this one, the tackle on a sneak. And they're going to pick up the chase. This damage is there. The Chaos from the damage up front. They're going to actually get the kill for Stixxay for one. Ray in the back line, though, trades off.
Sneaky getting choked on the
off
side.
One kill. Guard Angel going to be popped here. Stixxay off on the back towards the Baron Pit. Jensen wants a bit more. They've got to run it for this one. Does he have the damage? Laser's not going to find his opponent target. He's going to go for Afromu. One more shuttle to it, but still forced to kite away for this one. Body slam is in. Jensen can't get the kill just yet. The damage up was there. Stixxay gets the snipe from downtown. 2-for-1 lead to CLG, trying to find a little bit more here.
Ray's on the side, though, has his ultimate. He's going in.
He's spotted by a ward. Afro's got to kite back here. It's Darshan going to lose the Guardian Angel.
Stixxay's in base. CLG needs to run here. This is not a winnable fight for them.
There's a redemption heal. Poppy still wants into this one. Not going to find it, though, and Darshan over-aggressed on this one. Not going to get anything to happen. Of course, the Guardian Angel makes that one pretty easy. And looks like it's going to be a 2-for-2 overall. And CLG and C9 will both disengage.
Nice little play on the back end from Ray to pick up another kill, and that fight was decided by the slimmest of margins. Jensen just barely did not take out Stixxay in the middle of that fight, and that allowed Stixxay to stay around for so long and land these Qs, and barely able to actually stay alive. This is kind of an unintentional, happy little accident there for C9, and then they go in for the fight. And track Stixxay on the top side of this fight. He goes over the wall, he's up on the top side, and in comes Jensen with the laser, and is able to get so much damage down on Stixxay. This is almost a one fight right there. He's not actually able to get the Lich Bane auto off, and Stixxay's able to kite back. Jensen not able to finish him off, and in the end of the fight, they're pretty close.
C9 got the Drake off that way. Now the engage for Stixxay jumps to the wall, goes for Ray, can't quite get the damage. But Hui gets the solo kill on a Jensen somewhere else in the map in the mid lane. Hui makes a big pick. Body slam finds Contracts. That'll be a 2-for-0. CLG open up the map. Jungle and mid lane are dead.
Yeah, and with the jungler down, CLG could go straight over to Baron. I think that's going to be the play here. We'll see if C9 can do anything about it. Ray low on health, no teleport. Sneaky could look to poke them out, but this is a risky contest if they want to try it all.
It's going to be very difficult for Cloud9 right now as Counter Logic Gaming with the gold deficit still after those 2 kills. Looking for the Baron that will put them back in the lead right now, and I don't even think there's a chance. They're going to give it away. Sneaky, no deadly flourish here. Blue buff goes, blue team rather takes it over. Baron buff to Counter Logic Gaming.
And Hui just constantly trying for these plays, does execute on this one, nails the charm, takes down Jensen in the solo kill. And he has been so aggressive on his Ahri this game. Not all his plays have been paying off, but he's been making it work for the most part.
Yeah, at this time, scoreline similar to Jensen's, 4-4 and 7 to 5-5 and 7. And also got to give massive props to Stixxay, 8-2 and 1. And he grabbed the Ezreal early on, and it's paid off.
That's the biggest problem is now at this point, I do feel like Renekton is starting to fall off compared to the Poppy, and the massive amount of gold that has been funneled into him compared to the gold that's in Stixxay, I just feel like it's more valuable on the Ezreal now. And there's so much pressure on C9 to be able to execute Stixxay. If you don't have the Victor one-shotting Stixxay or someone flying in and taking him out really quickly, he will take over the fight.
Yeah. And he's got just a great tank-killing build, as you're mentioning. Lord Dominus Regards and Blade of the Rune King is huge for this, and here we go for top lane outer. Meanwhile, Ray is splitting. He does have TP, and we'll see what kind of things can be equalized. First turret goes down. It's bot lane 2-2 dropping, and top lane outer going to go down as well. Now it's top lane 2-2 for CLG, finding a bit more. As Ray finally does get the equalized turret kill. Nice little bit of wave clear, but it's still a 5 versus 4.
And there's no lot of Baron minions here. I mean, Ray, I think, needs the base, because if this gets cleared out too much, you could just go for the inhibitor, but it's actually Darshan to go back first.
Yeah, the minions got cleared enough. Look at how big the minion wave is, and Ray not going to get much more for this one. No collapse to go for the kill. Darshan actually wants to chase, and what, is his team going to collapse for this? 2-level deficit for Darshan, and Ray is running away. He knows CLG is inside track and killing him.
It could simply be Darshan says, hey, if I chase you and stop you from TPing, it's actually worth me not being at the fight too. And confidence in his team to perhaps win that 4v4. He's just going to delay Ray. Yeah, he's essentially saying Ray is more valuable than him, so keep it in a 4v4.
I mean, he's been flame rising this game. 5 kills, 7 assists on that Renekton. He's pretty much the entire C9 team right now. Cloud9 Gaming going to keep trying to play for this siege.
Ray, really smart from Darshan.
Yep. Well, Ray finally is in a position to join the team fight. He can flick if he wants to, but looks like nothing really gained by Counter Logic Gaming. Just the wave clear, and Darshan's going to reset how much of a push Ray could have. Of course, there was a ward there, but now Jensen in the mix.
Rengar ulti, they're looking for Darshan, but not going to be able to take him out.
They won't quite find it, but now it's towards the mid lane. CLG once again on the push. Can C9 defend in time?
Smithy has the Baron minions on the top side, so they just need to chill out here. They don't need to go in.
Look for the play under who he's going to land the bola. That's a big root. Lock it to buy a bit of time, and who able to get away, but had burned his ulti for it. Meanwhile, top lane was still getting pushed. Not a ton of damage from Smithy, so it doesn't mean that much, but it is still farm lost by C9.
And the next minion wave comes in. Huhi is on that turret. It will go down pretty fast here.
And there's the turret going down, picked up. 36 minutes in, 3,000 gold lead for Counter Logic Gaming. Looking for a bit forward of the base. We know 6A is huge, takes a bit of poke, but he's so far all right with this one. And out we go with that.
It does become a bit of a scary push to continue for CLG. They want to get an inhibitor, but Baron buff is expiring, and they have a lot of gold in their pockets, so they will have to play it close. Let's see. Okay, Jensen on the side, trying to get poked out. That is key, but they're going in for 6A.
Gonna go for the stun on the back line. Darshan gonna knock back onto Smoothie, and Ray is locked up in front. Looking for the damage onto him. Guardian Angel will be popped in a couple more hits. There we go. Finally knocks him down, but he is with a healing debuff on him. Makes it an easy kill on the backside. Look for 6. They can't get it. 1 for 0. CLG kills the front line. A tackle onto Smoothie. Darshan looked for the kill onto the support. The flash follow. The chase is there. They can't quite get the kill. Norgan, who he land the charm, but the top inhibitor goes down. The poke means nothing here from Sneaky. 5v4. CLG gonna retreat. Contracts looks for the play on the side, but he's not gonna find it.
Trying to track CLG at least, see if they can stop any bases here. If they do actually base at different times, but not going to happen, and C9 is going to have to deal with some of these minion waves.
Okay, yeah, just going to reset on this one, but it's still advantage CLG. 4,000 gold Baron power play, 1,500 of that being the Baron itself, and another 2,500 earned gold from their pushing.
Yeah, and so much of the gold is in their pockets now, ready to spend. You know, there's like 2,600 gold on 6A, 2,500 gold on Smithy. They have so much to spend, and they will now be able to cash in on their gold lead, because during that fight, actual combat power on their champions, they were actually down in gold.
Sure they were, but Counter Logic Gaming picking up the Hex Drinker on a 6A. I like that choice, actually. Victor, really his only major threat after he's got Ninja Tabby here, so
yeah.
6A gonna be in position to keep carrying these fights with raw, persistent damage. Somehow misses the red buff, but that's okay. He's got auto attacks.
Too. So he's really knowing that these next in fights are going to be so important, especially with the Elder coming up right now. Absolutely. If CLG could secure that Elder, they could very likely use that to try to close out the game, as top lane inhibitor is already down, and that minion pressure is going to be working in their favor. I
agree. Chances are high that Elder Dragon means a game win and a match win for Counter Logic Gaming. They lost 2-0 to Team Dignitas yesterday, and it looked pretty bad, to be honest. There were some very silly choices made by this team. And here they are against the #1 team in the league in Cloud9, and they're looking poised to take them out in the advantage here in Game 3. And continue to confuse everybody about how good CLG really is, because they are wildly up and down.
They certainly are, but certainly not over just yet. A lot of burst potential coming in from Cloud9.
Yes.
You know, you hit the right combo, and you can take 6A off the map almost instantaneously. So they're going to have to play it very controlled, very measured, to make sure that they're not in that position. And right now, they're two-manning the Elder. They're going to be looking for the fight. TP into the pit coming in.
Ray wants to join. CLG cutting back. Contract's ready to go into this one. Darshan going to knock back almost nobody and lets the spell fizzle. Tackles Ray. Damage from 60 on the bot side. Meanwhile, Contract's holding the front line, and Ray running out of health. Quick heal coming in for the redemption. Ray's going to stay afloat. 2k HP. Charm on a Smoothie. There's the tackle. The kill is on to the support. 5v4. CLG want more. Contracts chunked out of this battle, and no damage to the Chaos Storm at all. Only hitting some tanks. It's going to be CLG pushing everyone away. Ray is gone, and 6A is on the chase with the red buff. Contracts not long for the world. Heal the chase. 6A really wants his kill. Elder Dragon going to be picked up by CLG. It's Smithy who grabs the smite, and now 5 versus 3, just flashing to get out of their own jungle. Cloud9 running out of control over this game, and CLG looking to close the game out with a stronger team and a buff on all 5. Top inhibitor already dead. The wave coming in 15 seconds. Reinforced with the mid lane already here, and CLG looking to close out the match.
The death timers are so long, and Jensen has no flash. If they can catch him, the game will end. He needs to be in a good position. He's trying to play very carefully around this. We'll see if C9 can hold on. It's going to be so hard with the supers coming in.
Double super minions top side. It's going to be difficult. Jensen going to do what he can to recoup all of this. 5v4. Smoothie is here, as you mentioned. The tackle is there. They look for the support kill. They get it. Huhi in the back line, just buying time against Jensen. The turrets are falling, and there is no
Ray up
defense
in
to
2
be
seconds.
had. Ray, can he stop this one? Knockback,
He's
not
here.
gonna land for Darshan. Turret's gonna come down, Carter from the backside, gets popped right away. Then the kill comes through, it's 5 versus 3. Darshan to the front line, taking up a storm. Big damage for Jensen. Ray not gonna die, but doesn't really matter. Jensen finally falls. The polymorph was there. And the next is the next one on the chopping block. Counter Logic Gaming gonna dethrone the #1 team in North America with the match win 2-1. And CLG turning heads with the win over Cloud9.
What a game from CLG. Stixxay turning in a hell of a performance. 13-3 on the Ezreal. ADCs in 2017, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about here. And Sneaky says, I don't know if people give credit to other bot laners. Well, when you play like that, Stixxay deserves all the credit in the world. Bot laners take note. Stixxay has, I think, maybe the highest highs in North America. He's not always consistent, but today he was on point. Game 1, his Caitlyn was instrumental. Game 3, his Ezreal was even more than that.
Yeah, I mean, they play these compositions so well. I think to protect the AD carry type compositions, this looks like a CLG that could go far, that can threaten the very best teams in the playoffs.
I want you to, without looking at stats, you already have though, guess the damage per minute from Stixxay here. Crowd, right into Twitter, @LowEsports, #NALCS, guess the damage per minute from Stixxay. 54,000 in a 40-minute game is about 1,300, more than 1,300 damage per minute. That is actually bonkers. That is obnoxiously high. Stixxay had insane uptime this game. Quick eyebrow raise, smile. He knows he carried that game. CLG fans, be careful with your faith. If you start believing they're going to lose next week, but this was a win to be proud of.
It certainly is, and especially coming off of a very rough loss to Dignitas yesterday, it makes them feel so much better.
Yeah.
And I think they have a lot to be proud of here, showing that they can compete with the very best, and really, you know, a lot of people kind of scoffing at Stixxay's remarks in the opening statements. Oh, we're the best bot lane in the league. And a lot of people do not give them that credit now. So many people are handing those accolades over to Arrow and pretty much whoever he's playing with. And now, you know, C9. But really, a lot of what this series was is the CLG bot lane. In games 1 and 3, they were massive. And playing these protect the Stixxay type comps, he's making it work.
Yeah, and it's not to ignore Cloud9. Of course, I think they played well in some of their own points as well. I thought Ray was hugely bright, was a really, really big deal. Unfortunately, the rest of the team couldn't pull it together. And of course, their Game 2 win was a complete slaughter, so there were points here, but it was CLG who played better on the day.
Yeah, and I just think it's very tough for Ray to actually, despite playing incredibly well, massive CS lead, massive kill lead, it's so hard to execute on that lead, I think, as a Renekton, compared to the Ezreal with the Lulu support.
Right.
You know, Poppy could be insanely behind and still neutralize that advantage.
Sure.
For the most part. Even in the team fight, Starshawn was huge as far as alting people out, landing stuns, just as effective. Can
Totally
Jace match this Ezreal that's massively ahead? Not even close. I mean, he did less than half the damage.
And
he
you've
did
got
like a third of the damage.
Oh, sure, of course. You've got to wonder, actually, if, you know, C9's more comfortable playing the 4-1 style, if they can make that work differently. Of course, CLG happy to play the split pusher, but clearly able to play the tank as well. So beautifully done by Logic Gaming for that win. And now, for more on that one, let's stick with Kobe and the victorious CLG jungler.
All right, we are here with the victorious jungler, Smithy. Congratulations on your victory. Now, starting out, you guys are playing against a Jace AD carry. Next week, you guys are going up against FlyQuest. Pretty close to you in the standings. Plus, they also use quite a lot of, you know, oddball picks. How do you feel about reacting to this type of stuff in Champion Select?
I think playing non-meta picks is just based on your experience in the game. Ability to adapt, whether if it's a Mordekaiser AD carry or like Jace AD carry, it all depends on the players and their mentality to stay in the game.
And kind of along that vein, you know, earlier in the season when you guys were kind of struggling, you mentioned the meta doesn't really fit the way that we like to play the game, and it has changed over the last couple patches. You know, maybe more in your guys' favor with the AD carry pool changing and jungler pool changing a little bit. How do you feel about the current state, you know, bringing Gragas and things like that back?
I think we're in a weird limbo right now that sometimes we're blaming picks, sometimes we're blaming the meta. I think it's just mainly for us, just like mainly excuses. I think we're just playing pretty bad sometimes, and we're trying to polish on that. So yeah, just being consistent like we were like a year ago. So yeah.
All right, well, you know, you had actually a pretty big loss yesterday. You did recover very well today, you know, taking down the #1 team. But in the same vein of looking at the excuses and looking at, you know, the reasons, What was really the takeaway after reviewing your losses versus Dignitas yesterday? Maybe the biggest thing?
Probably the biggest thing is just keeping communication alive when you're behind. Usually we're ahead pretty much every early game. And then usually that one mistake snowballs into another mistake, and like we just keep bleeding that over and over. That's when we usually throw the most. So yeah, just avoiding that pretty much can solve like our mistakes. So.
All right, well, good luck for your matches upcoming, and hopefully you can have some focused practice. We're going to send it back over to the guys at the desk now.
Thank you very much, Kobe. CLG taking down #1 Cloud9 2-1 in this series. So what we talked about at the beginning of the day, for a team that looked like they were slipping, they needed to start turning it around. Getting a victory against the #1 team is definitely a way to do it.
That's a statement win.
Yeah, exactly. So let's take a look at how they did close it out here in Game 3. Champion select. Crazy interesting this time around. So let's dive into it, really from both teams. Ban phase, very normal. Right as rain. This is the kind of stuff you expect to see. Okay, no surprises yet. Pick phase 1. Lulu, first pick. A lot of teams have been turning to that as priority, but this is where it gets interesting. Rengar,
especially
Jace.
the Jace, because for the most part, C9 does not prioritize it that highly. You see the Jace pick come in, and it's basically what I would say is like a raid draft, where like I don't think you see this with Impact in there. So you get to see the influence of having the more carry-oriented top laner, where now you're saying, we might flex Jace top. This isn't just a mid-Jace pick.
I was about to say, so yeah, as a coach here, you're now the coach of CLG. What kind of information do you believe you're getting here? Do you think that Jace is a flex, can go top or mid, but you're prepping for the possibility of it going mid more likely?
Right, that's what you're thinking. And then you take the Gragas on CLG. It's a great pick into both tanks and carries. It's one of the tanks that actually does fairly well in terms of setting up ganks really easily later on.
Right.
And generally has a better pre-6 matchup with a lot of these kind of carries. So if the Jace does go top, the Gragas is good.
I was going to say, it has the advantage of being a flex pick in and of itself, right? We've seen it go top lane, both in response to Maokai's and carries. Can also go to the jungle. We know that Xmithie in the past has been very comfortable on that champion. So we've got flex pick 1 here, flex pick response here.
Right.
All right, now let's move to ban phase 2, see how the teams decide to play this out. Top lane focus bans across the board.
Right, and so I think you can see that Cloud9 is prepared a little bit for the pick of the Gragas flexing. So they want to get rid of the carries, potentially in a split push matchup. And then they're banning tanks away. I think they know that Cloud9 has a big risk of ending up really physical damage heavy here.
But that's what this is doing, right?
So by banning away the best AP tanks, you're basically saying, all right, you're going to end up really physical damage heavy now. You almost have no way out of this. The Renekton, the Poppy are both physical damage tanks that don't help out this comp at all. So when you see the Renekton come in, the big surprise is the flex with the Poppy pick. You grab another person who can stack armor, so now you have an armor stacking front line with a Lulu between the Poppy and Gragas, benefiting CLG. And Cloud9 knows that they basically screwed the pooch on their draft, so they have to find some way to get some magic damage in here. That means flexing the Jace to the AD carry position. I think going for it was the right idea, because I don't see how you beat this team comp if you pick just a standard AD carry here. You'll never get through this. So I think going with the Victor and flexing it was the right idea, but not at all what they wanted when they started the draft.
I was going to say, that's the question, and we might have to go and ask the players or Reaper later on exactly what the game plan was, and if CLG called them on that bluff, or if the whole plan from the beginning was to throw Jace in the ADC position. But let's remember, this Renekton is locked in first. The response comes here. I love the intelligent Poppy response, basically saying, hey, you're all AD. We're going to put you in a situation where, looking at 2 giant frontliners who can stack armor, you have to draft AP.
Right. There's really not a great jungler to take there that's going to stack a lot of armor and be a strong influence in the early game. Like, what are you going to do? Grab Rek'Sai or something? Lee Sin, not the best.
Right.
I think putting the Gragas there, while obviously not the strongest pick in the meta, is able to accomplish what you want, scaling into the mid and late game while still having some kind of influence in the early game.
Yeah, I could see maybe an Olaf pick being one of the other possible champions, along with the Lulu being able to get in. But either way, it's just another champion that can stack armor to have a massive front line for CLG. So very intelligent draft here from CLG. I mean, I like the idea that Cloud9 had coming in, unfortunately called on it, and we see the game go in CLG's favor as a result. Let's dive into the game itself now to see how these two teams kind of interacted together. 15:30 into the game. This is actually a C9-1 fight, 5 for 2.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that we're always terrified about for CLG, is at 15-ish minutes, are they going to get aced in their own jungle or the other team jungle? This time it's the other team jungle. Starts off with a pick attempt, but a great TPM by Ray. And then you see everyone on CLG stack up on top of this Renekton.
On an ulting Renekton.
Yep, gets his Q back up, gets a ton of damage, heals himself back up to full, not full, 300 health, so he doesn't go down to anything until a little bit later. And then It's an easy chase for the most part by Jensen. And this is kind of the concern that you normally have with CLG is like, oh my god, they got ace, game's out of control now. But they weren't actually able to grab any objectives off this because it was on the other team's jungle. And then because they have the better scaling team comp and that they were actually doing other things fine in the early game, they were never at such a goal deficit that they were out of the game.
Right, now recall that that fight took place only a couple minutes after CLG took a fight in the Dragon River, won it, but at the same time left Ray in the top lane to build a 30 CS advantage and take solo first turret, which gave him, you know, that whopping 650 gold. So he flies into that fight off of a TP, picks up a quadra kill.
I think,
You would think, I mean, if you're in solo queue, I know that Renekton, the game's over, right? That's a, you know, 2-3 item Renekton is about to run, you know, across the board.
Yeah, and I think the way he played it actually was fairly aggressive in what you'd want to see, where he was willing to get fairly chunked out by Darshan to finish off the turret. He tries to get the solo kill. CLG has to expend some resources to collapse on him. Obviously, going down there isn't the biggest deal. You give a little bit of a shutdown gold over, but it's not that big of a deal.
And so while all the eggs are in the Ray basket now as a result of that team fight, on the flip side of things, Stixxay is the one who's going off for CLG. We talked about at the beginning of the day and the duo itself, you know, here for CLG, that the highs for that bot lane and for Stixxay in particular are quite high. He hits the extremes of either having fantastic carry performances and sometimes having dud-like performances. This one, though,
43% damage says it all. I mean,
this one's the one you want.
And this wasn't some kind of one of those games where you see where you're a Varus and neither team's fighting, you're just poking them over and over. This was like a lot of hectic team fighting where he was able to stay alive for the most part in every single team fight and clean up when he started getting the other members low. So he had a great game. He had a decent game as well, getting a lot of pickoffs. One of the critical ones being on Jensen that allowed Stixxay to not have to worry about chasing into a victor, which is always the concern as an AD carry.
Right, big win for CLG here, pushing them to 500 in overall match record, 7-7. Now I want to talk about Cloud9. Return to our question around Ray and Impact going into this game. Why is it that they're swapping them out this late in the series? What would be the possible reasons, and what are the advantages, disadvantages to playing either of these guys? So here's a small stats comparison. Quite obviously, KDA higher for Impact, DPM slightly higher out of Ray, but that's because if you look at the champion pools, more carry potential in terms of champion picks coming out of Ray than, say, Impact. But overall unique champion difference is actually not that much. It's only a couple champions to either person's pool.
All right, it's a lot of the physical damage carry champions for Ray, where you see the Jason there, the Fiora. And one of the stats that's missing in there that's really important is the kill participation, where just prior to this game, I don't know what it was influenced by this game, but it was 65% for Impact and roughly 45% for Ray. So Ray was clearly in the split push mode where he's not TPing into fights like instantly. He's not the guy who starts the fights even. And so I think, you know, obviously this game he had a better kill participation on the Renekton, but it does raise that question of like, what are you really trying to get out of letting Ray play? Are you trying to develop a second style that if Impact's not playing well, you put in the Ray and then you start taking the Jace early and the other team has to get really scared? Because for the most part, it doesn't seem like it's really working out better for C9.
Well, yeah, exactly. Ultimately, by the way, his KP jumped up to about 52%. So from 46% prior to this game up to 52% for Ray, but still well below what Impact is achieving with the team. As well, that damage per minute stat for Ray was much lower than it was again with this Renekton, or the gold at 15 differential was actually negative for Ray at 20, now up 136. So you can see what a big game like that does to his averages. But overall, I think the main point is that, look, if you're going to run two players in a position, you clearly have to split not just game time on the stage, but scrim time. And so what is that doing to the team's ability to develop as a five-man squad when you're trying to stretch between more players? And if we use SKT as an example, there were definitive reasons why they would play EasyHoon. It's for a stylistic change and for a champion change, right? We're going to put him in anytime we really want to play Azir versus Faker, who's going to pull a more unique pick out, maybe be more aggressive and pull more focus and gold. It's not clear to me yet why exactly C9 makes the decision they make, or when they do put Ray in, why it's happening.
Yeah, it seems often like we lost a game, put Ray in, and that's that's fine if you want to flex your players around like that. And they do have a different style, definitely, and not just in terms of picks, though there is an overlap in terms of play. That kill participation being the big one. I mean, I remember fights from a couple weeks ago where Ray was on Fiora and just like wouldn't TP down when he could have. So they definitely take on a different kind of look for their team. This time, I think Ray played pretty well. I think he kind of got screwed by the draft, and maybe that is partly his fault for how he influences how the draft plays out.
Right.
But that's really hard to comment on the outside.
And the only reason I bring this up and want to hammer it so hard is that because we're coming near the end of the split, and you've got an actual race for first place. Be a different story if C9 was undefeated and 4 games ahead of TSM. No one's going to challenge them for that first seed going into playoffs. But when you're actually competing against somebody else for playoff positioning and a better road to the finals domestically, I think you should, at a certain point, put your best foot forward.
It's a little hard to say because you're basically saying, is P1 going to catch us and are we going to lose the first round bye? Most likely not. And then between the 3 through 6 spot, we talked about at the start of the day how much of a mess that is. You have no idea.
Really care who your opponent is.
Are you really going to get to the 6th place team or the 3rd? Like, do you know who you're really going to play? Like, it's so up in the air right now that I understand trying to develop a secondary play style, but it hasn't been the most convincing.
All right, well, C9 suffering a loss and CLG perhaps starting a climb here at the end of the season, but ultimately that's going to do it for Series 1 of our day. That's not all the league, though, we have. Up next, we've got Immortals taking to the stage against TSM. Don't touch that browser. More North American LCS when we return.
My name is Azael. I like the taste of kale. When I go fishing, I catch whale. My gender is male. What if this is gonna be on mic check?
You're just reading Freak's rap.
Yeah.
But now
it's my rap.
Now it's his rap.
Because there's no proof that it's actually Freak's rap.
He legit baited contracts into it.
First flash available. Summoner heal in. It's going to be Smoothie. Running out of health. The first blood's going to come in. Donated over to Huhi's auto attack. Sneaky's in a dangerous position. The flash Q auto attack comes through and sticks the kill. Jensen's going to be next. The 2 for 0 plus the Drake.
Coming. Nice. Puppy. Zol, you just Zol. Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, nice.
Big stun from Ray is going to be the setup for Huhi. They've got the kill from Jensen. They're going to get the ace. One more hit will do it.
Karma. That's my redemption. Nice. My redemption. I'm stunning 4. Finish. Yes, finish. Go.
Block counter Logic Gaming. Going to dethrone the #1 team in North America with the match win 2-1. And CLG turning heads with the win over Cloud9.